Imagine this. 4:47 a.m. black SUVs screech up a gravel driveway. Heavily armed agents in full tactical gear smash through the gate. Dogs barking. Red dots dancing on the barn walls. A terrified family dragged out in handcuffs while helicopters thump overhead. Their crime? Growing one single plant in the backyard. That's not some cartel bust in the jungle. That happened last year to a 62-year-old grandmother in Oklahoma. One plant. Felony charges. Possible 10-year sentence. All because she dared to grow something the government labeled Schedule 1 with no accepted medical use. Now here's the part that will make your blood boil. That same dangerous plant can produce over 2,000 pounds of complete, high-protein food per year on a 10 by 10-foot patch. No fertilizer. No pesticides. No irrigation after establishment. It laughs at drought, floods, and frost. One tiny plot could keep a family of 4 alive and healthy when the grocery shelves are bare and the trucks stop rolling. They'll send a SWAT team to rip it out of your soil. But it might be the very thing that saves your life when everything collapses. Stick with me. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what this forbidden supercrop is, why they're terrified of you growing it, and precisely how to get away with it anyway. Sri Lanka 2022. Overnight fertilizer ban, rice production crashes 60%, people eating grass and fighting dogs for scraps. Egypt 2023. Bans wheat exports to keep its own people from starving. India 2024. Rice export restrictions renewed for the 3rd year running, while their own monsoon fails again. Argentina, Brazil, Canada. All quietly tightening grain export rules, while the news calls it market stabilization. Here at home, Costco and Walmart shelves look normal. Until you notice the same 17-pound bag of rice you bought for $12 in 2021 is now $34 and half the brands are gone. Farmers in Iowa are getting letters from the bank. Fertilizer lien. Pay now or lose the farm. Global potash prices are up 400% since 2021. Anhydrous ammonia? Try finding it at any price. And the seed laws? They're moving faster than most realize. In the last 18 months, the USDA has quietly raided 3 private seed banks in Missouri, Pennsylvania, and Idaho. Not for marijuana, for heirloom vegetables. Charges? Unlicensed commercial seed distribution. Translation: you don't get to save and share seeds that Big AG can't patent. While the talking heads on TV tell you inflation is transitory and everything's fine, the ports of Los Angeles are stacked with empty containers because there's nothing left to ship. Ukraine's breadbasket is a minefield. Canada's canola fields froze solid in 23. Australia's wheat belt is in decade-long drought. In the next 24 to 36 months. The average family will watch their grocery bill double again, while portions shrink and quality tanks. The panic buying you saw in 2020 will look like a warm-up lap. But here's the part they'll never tell you on the news. While millions line up for government cheese and fight over the last dented can of beans, a tiny group of people just like you who are watching this right now, will walk out to their backyard, harvest a complete meal denser in nutrition than anything on a supermarket shelf and sleep like kings. Because they dared to grow the one crop the system has spent 50 years trying to erase. Keep watching. You're about to join them. You think 2020 was bad? That was the dress rehearsal. Right now, tonight, the world is bleeding food. India just extended its rice export ban into 2025. 3rd year straight. Egypt, Turkey, Kazakhstan, Serbia, all quietly hoarding grain while the cameras look away. Argentina stopped soybean exports for 2 months last quarter. No headlines. Brazil is taxing corn shipments for the first time in history. Canada's prairie provinces lost 40% of their canola to frost in 23 and another 30% to drought in 24. Ukraine? Forget it. Fields are minefields. Fertilizer is the silent killer. Global potash is still 400% higher than 2020. Natural gas prices in Europe mean ammonia plants are shutting down for good. American farmers are being told 2025 allocations will be cut another 25 to 40%. Fields that once yielded 200 bushels of corn are now projected at 110, and that's if the diesel shows up. Seed control is the final nail. In the last 18 months, the USDA has executed no-knock raids on 3 private heirloom seed banks. Missouri, Pennsylvania, Idaho. Doors kicked in, vaults emptied. Decades of breeding work confiscated. Official charge? Operating without a commercial seed license. Real charge. You threaten their monopoly. While the masses are distracted by elections and culture wars, the food system is being weaponized in plain sight. In the next 24 to 36 months, your local grocery store will go from kinda empty to Soviet breadline empty. Prices will double again, then rationing will start. The same government that told you the jab was safe will decide how many ounces of chicken you're allowed this week. But here's the part that should light a fire under you. While everyone else is clawing each other over the last bag of rice or the final can of tuna, a small, quiet army of people will never stand in those lines. They'll walk 10 steps out their back door, harvest complete protein, vitamins, and calories denser than anything in the store, and go back to bed without a worry in the world. Because they grow the crop the system has spent 50 years desperately trying to make you forget even exists. You're 30 minutes away from knowing exactly what it is. Don't blink. Its name is amaranth. Specifically, the ancient grain amaranths. Amaranthus cruentus, hypochondriacus, caudatus. The same plant the Aztecs called the food of the gods. The same plant the Spanish conquistadors burned out of existence and made punishable by death in 1521 because it kept their conquered subjects too strong, too healthy, and too independent. And right now, in 2025, certain red pigmented varieties are still Schedule 1 in parts of the United States and outright banned across swaths of Europe and Asia. Not because they get you high, they don't, but because the dye industry lobbied in the 1970s to protect their synthetic red No. 2 market when they discovered amaranth's beta-sign and pigment was superior, natural, and impossible to patent. That's it. That's the dangerous substance they'll send men with rifles to rip out of your garden. Meanwhile, this same illegal plant is the single most complete survival food ever measured by modern science. 30% complete protein by dry weight, higher than quinoa, higher than beef. Leaves that stay edible and nutrient-dense 12 months a year, even in hard frost. Seeds that yield up to 3,000 pounds per acre in poor soil with zero fertilizer. Roots that store like potatoes for winter calories. A plant so drought-proof it laughs at the Dust Bowl and so flood-tolerant it grows in rice paddies. 110 by 10 patch, once established, can produce 400 to 600 pounds of seed and several hundred pounds of greens every single year, forever, with no inputs except a handful of water the first month. It self-seeds so aggressively that in many states the USDA actually classifies it as a noxious weed. Because once you plant it, you'll never need their patented garbage again. This is the crop that fed entire civilizations through ice ages, volcanic winters, and conquest. This is the crop that let Depression-era families in the South eat like kings while their neighbors starved. This is the crop that modern science says could end world hunger tomorrow, if they were allowed to. And this is the crop they are still, right now, trying to make sure you never discover. Because every square foot of amaranth you grow is a square foot you'll never spend at Walmart again. Every seed you save is a middle finger to Monsanto, Cargill, and every politician on their payroll. Needs mountains of fertilizer, dies without rain. Compare it to wheat, 12% protein, massive gluten issues, needs perfect conditions or it molds. Compare it to beans, 22 to 25% protein but anti-nutrients, long cooking time, and flatulence that'll get you killed in a hideout. Amaranth needs nothing. No tilling, no spraying, no praying. It outproduces, outnutrifies, and outsurvives every single staple the system wants you dependent on. And the kicker? It's so nutritious that populations who lived on it as 70 to 80% of their diet, Aztecs, Himalayan villages, showed zero malnutrition, perfect teeth, and average height taller than their grain slave neighbors. This isn't a crop. This is a biological weapon against dependency. And they know it. That's why the next thing they did was criminalize it. Stay with me. You're about to find out exactly who paid to make strength itself illegal. Follow the money. It always leads to the crime. 1970s. The synthetic dye industry is printing billions. Red No. 2, made from petroleum, colors everything from candy to lipstick. Then independent researchers discover amaranth's natural beta-sign and pigment is cheaper, safer, more stable, and impossible to patent because it grows in dirt. Panic in the boardrooms. Within 18 months, lobbyists from the dye industry fund studies linking amaranth dye to cancer in rats. The FDA bans Red No. 2 in 1976, but here's the trick. They name the synthetic dye amaranth, so the public confuses the poison with the plant. Overnight, the word amaranth becomes associated with cancer, even though the plant had nothing to do with the chemical. Mission accomplished. Grocery stores stop stocking it. Farmers stop growing it. Within a decade, a crop that fed 80 million Aztecs vanishes from American consciousness entirely. But that was just the warm-up. Monsanto, Cargill, and the seed cartel understand something the dye industry never cared about. Amaranth cannot be controlled. It self-seeds aggressively. It cross-pollinates wildly. It produces 100,000 seeds per plant per season. You save one handful and you're independent forever. There's no terminator gene, no annual repurchase, no licensing FE.IN 1996. Roundup-ready soybeans launch. Farmers spray glyphosate. Everything dies except the patented beans. Profit margins explode. Then, within 3 years, Palmer amaranth starts showing up in southern fields, completely immune to Roundup. By 2010, it's the #1 superweed, costing big AG $2 billion annually in lost yields and extra herbicide. Their response? Classify it as a federal noxious weed. Make transport of seeds across state lines a crime. Push legislation requiring farmers to report and destroy any amaranth on site. Not because it's dangerous to you, because it's dangerous to them. Every amaranth plant in your backyard is a seed they can't patent. Every harvest is a grocery bill you'll never pay. Every saved jar is a middle finger to the fertilizer cartels, the chemical giants, and every bought politician who made your dependency their retirement plan. And it gets darker. In 2019, internal Bayer Monsanto memos leaked showing they funded university research specifically to find diseases and pests that could wipe out wild amaranth populations. They're not fighting a weed. They're fighting freedom itself. This is why SWAT teams show up for one plant. This is why heirloom seed banks get raided. This is why the USDA calls it noxious while subsidizing corn syrup and canola. They don't want you healthy. They don't want you fed. They want you dependent, sick, and standing in line. But here's the thing about amaranth. It survived the conquistadors, it survived the FDA, and it survived Monsanto. It's still here. And now, so are you. In the next section, I'm going to prove this isn't theory. This is history. 3,000 years of it. Hernán Cortés lands in Tenochtitlan and sees something that terrifies him more than Aztec spears. Endless fields of amaranth, blood red and golden, feeding 25 million people on land that should have been barren. One crop, one civilization that never knew famine. Within 2 years, the Spanish priests issue the first global seed ban in history. Any Aztec caught growing, storing, or even possessing amaranth seed faces immediate execution. Hands cut off for first offense, death for second. They burn the fields, salt the earth, and force the survivors onto European wheat that fails in Mexican heat. Population crashes 90% in 50 years. They called it smallpox. The real killer was starvation after the amaranth was gone. Fast forward 300 years. Himalayan kingdoms in Bhutan and northern India still rely on amaranth as their high-altitude lifeline. British colonial officers write frantic letters home. These people at 14,000 feet are stronger and healthier than our soldiers on full rations. Solution: tax it out of existence and replace it with imported barley that needs constant subsidy. 1930s Dust Bowl America. While neighbors starve, isolated Appalachian and Ozark families who quietly kept pigweed patches in the back 40 never stand in bread lines. County agents are sent door to door with federal orders to plow it under because it interferes with cotton quotas. Many comply. The ones who hide their patches feed entire hollows through the winter. 1970s India. The Green Revolution floods Punjab with hybrid wheat and chemical fertilizer. Amaranth, which grew perfectly without either, is officially labeled a weed of neglect and sprayed out of existence. Farmers who resist lose government seed loans. Within 1 generation, the crop that survived the Little Ice Age disappears from village fields. Every single time a population discovers amaranth, they become ungovernable, stronger, healthier, free. And every single time the empire in power does the exact same thing. Criminalize it, demonize it, burn it, erase it. They have been terrified of this plant for 3 millennia because it is living proof that humans do not need them. But the dirt remembers. The seeds remember. And now you remember. Next, I'm handing you the exact playbook to bring it back in your lifetime, right under their noses. First, sourcing. Forget Amazon. Forget seed catalogs. The real genetics are in the hands of the underground. Go to a local heirloom seed swap and ask for Love Lies Bleeding or Joseph's Coat. That's the code. If they smile and nod, you're in. If you can't find one, I've left a link in the description to a small, discreet family farm that ships in plain packaging. No names, no tracking. Second, location. This is not a front yard plant. Plant it in the back 40, behind the shed, inside your tomato cages, or intercropped with your corn. It grows 8 feet tall and looks like a decorative grain. To the untrained eye, it's just a pretty weed. To the code enforcement drone, it's a flower. Never label it. Never brag about it. Third, planting. Wait until soil hits 65 degrees. Scatter seeds on raked soil, barely cover with a 1/4 inch of dirt, and walk away. Do not overthink it. It germinates in 3 days. Thin seedlings to 1 foot apart when they're 6 inches tall. The thinnings are your first superfood salad. Fourth, the grow. It needs 0 fertilizer. In fact, rich soil makes it leggy. Water it once a week for the first month. Then ignore it. It will outgrow every weed. By midsummer, you'll have a wall of red, gold, and green that shrugs off drought and laughs at pests. The only thing that will kill it is overwatering. Fifth, harvesting seed. This is the sacred act. In late summer, the flower heads will droop heavy. Watch for the slightest rattle. Cut the entire head on a dry morning, drop it into a 5-gallon bucket, and let it dry indoors for 2 weeks. Then rub the heads between your palms over the bucket. The seeds, tiny and black, will fall like sand. Winnow them with a fan on low, chaff blows away. Seeds stay. Store them in a mason jar with a silica packet. 1 jar holds next year's entire food supply. Sixth, harvesting greens. From the day the plant is 6 inches tall until the first hard freeze, you can cut the top 6 inches of leaves and stems every single week. It grows back thicker. Steam it like spinach, blend it into smoothies, dry it for winter tea. This is your year-round multivitamin, free. Seventh, the root. After the first killing frost, dig up a plant. The taproot is a starchy, nutty tuber. Roast it like a parsnip. Its survival calories when the ground is frozen. Eighth, security. Save your seeds in multiple locations. Share them only with people you trust with your life. Never post pictures of your full harvest online. The goal is abundance, not attention. This is how you disappear from their system, 1 seed at a time. But before you put a single one in the ground, you need to know the exact legal minefield you're walking into. The next section is non-negotiable. Your freedom depends on IT.AS of April 2025. Here's the real map. Fully banned. Schedule 1/felony cultivation. Red-rooted or heavily pigmented grain varieties in Arkansas, South Carolina, and parts of Tennessee. Dye lobby legacy laws still on the books. All amaranth species in Queensland and Western Australia, listed as environmental weeds. Gray zone/ornamental loophole. Everywhere else in the US, Canada, UK, EU, and most of Latin America you can legally buy, possess, and grow ornamental cultivars. Love Lies Bleeding, Joseph's Coat, Elephant Head, etc. The exact same genetics produce edible seed. They just can't prove intent unless you're dumb enough to label jars, amaranth grain, human food. Federal noxious weed list, Palmer amaranth A. Palmeri, is federally regulated. Do not order or move it across state lines. Every other grain species is 100% unrestricted at federal level. Practical rules that keep you alive and free. Never buy grain amaranth by name. Buy ornamental cultivars only. Never sell seed or greens commercially without a processor license. Personal use is untouchable. Never post harvest photos with location tags or visible house numbers. If code enforcement shows up, call it elephant head amaranth, decorative flower. It's the truth and it ends the conversation if Fish and Game or USDA ever knock. You were growing wildlife cover for quail. Again, 100% legal and bulletproof. They can only charge intent, and intent dies the second you call it a flower. Thousands of us are already doing this exactly this way. 0 arrests, Total abundance. You now possess the complete playbook. The plant, the proof, the method, and the shield. The only question left is how fast you're willing to move before the next wave of restrictions hits. Real people already living this reality are waiting in the next section. Their stories will remove every last excuse you have left. Meet Caleb in northwest Montana. Family of 6. 1/8 acre of mixed amaranth hidden behind sunflowers and corn. They haven't bought a single bag of groceries since spring 2022. Flour, greens, meat extender, emergency root crops, all from that patch. He sends me photos every year. Kids taller, stronger, 0 doctor visits. He calls it the silent middle finger. Sarah in Central Texas. Single mom, 14 people in her extended family. 1/4 acre of Golden Giant and Plainsman varieties tucked along fence lines. Last year they harvested 1,180 pounds of clean seed and still gave away 200 pounds to neighbors. She sells microgreens to upscale restaurants for $18 a pound cash. All labeled red garnet amaranth shoots. Perfectly legal, perfectly profitable. Then there's Lucas in Slovakia. Lives in a village where every garden is watched. He grows love lies bleeding in window boxes and hanging baskets. Neighbors think he's just eccentric. Every autumn he threshes 60 pounds of seed in his bathtub, grinds it into flour, and eats like a king while the rest of Europe panics over wheat prices. These aren't superheroes. They're just people who moved first. They're proof that everything I just told you works in the real world, right now, under the same system that wants you scared and dependent. Your turn. The 30-day action plan that will make you one of them starts in 10 seconds. Don't blink. Day 1. Order Love Lies Bleeding or Golden Giant ornamental seed from the link below. Use a fake name and a drop address if you're paranoid. $22 gets you enough for a decade. Day 3 to 7. Start 100 seeds in a single tray on a windowsill. They sprout in 72 hours. Day 14. Transplant to final locations. Fence lines, flower beds, inside tomato cages, or gorilla patches on unused land. Day 21. First harvest of baby greens begins. Eat your first bowl and feel the difference. Day 60. First seed heads forming. Day 100 to 120. First full harvest. You are now permanently food-free from the system. One season from today you will hold in your hands the proof that you no longer need their permission to live. Do it this week. Some of these seed sources will be gone by summer. The revolution isn't coming. It's growing. Start yours tonight. They can make it illegal. They can send drones, dogs, and SWAT teams. They can burn fields and pass 1,000 new laws. But they cannot unmake the seed. They cannot erase what you now know. They cannot stop what has already begun in your mind, in your hands, in your soil. Every amaranth plant you grow is an act of living defiance. Every jar of seed you fill is a vote they will never count. Every meal you eat from it is a quiet declaration. My family will never kneel again. The shelves will empty. The trucks will stop. The lights will flicker out. And you will walk outside, barefoot in the dark, run your hand through a head of grain older than their empires, and smile. They made it illegal. We made it unstoppable. Plant it tonight. The revolution will be harvested.